Even though the Indiana Fever had a great season last year and one of the league's most exciting cores, some analysts still believe they have a long way to go. However, if you've been paying attention, you'll see that this team isn't just ahead of schedule, they're being severely undervalued. So guys, today we're in response to a power rankings that state that the Fever still has a long way to go. There is still a lot of illness left, so let's discuss the Indiana Fever. Given their difficult start to the previous season, when Kelsey Mitchell was sidelined and Caitlin Clark was finding out their position as the fourth best squad, or apologies, they were the fourth or fifth best team. I understand that when you look at the standings, that must be taken into consideration, but after they figured it out, they were the fourth best team in the WNBA. They were better than the Sun, and they performed better in the Storm. The Aces, to be fair, were the third Lynx, and let's scroll up to see that Liberty was the fourth best team in the NBA at that time. The Fever finished the season with significant momentum, moving up the standings and surpassing teams with supposedly deeper rosters. Power rankings are meant to gauge talent potential and performance, but when they are ranked behind teams like the Storm and Mercury, something isn't adding up. They are now sleeping on again thanks to improved coaching and a strengthening core. Oh my God, the Indiana Fever gave Caitlin Clark a plan for their rookie season. They added experience at the one in Bonner Tacker and Reen Mitchell, who made up the remaining core of last year's squad, and Clark Aaliyah Boston to maximize on their star. And these players will now serve as mentors for Nexie Hall. The hiring of Stephanie White was a major upgrade, but expect the Fever to keep assembling this season and get closer to their full potential as a cohesive team with a Clark-lean Team 6. If you think the Seattle Storm wasn't even better than the Fever last season, you're mistaken. Let's face it, Indiana had more than just Clark. They also had Aaliyah Boston, who was a dominant player in the paint, Kelsey Mitchell, who brought veteran scoring and an improved roster of players. The media appears to be fixated on preseason narratives and has failed to acknowledge that the Fever were among the top 4 teams in the second half, while teams with weaker benches and significant injuries are. In some way, ranking higher makes sense, and the Mercury in 4th place is more likely to finish below the Sky than above the Fever. I stand by my assertion that they are more likely to finish below the Sky than above the Fever because all it takes is one injury to the incredibly injury-prone Satu Sabi, and they have nothing third is the Vay Ace. How can one grow better after losing Kelsey Plum and replacing her with a lesser player? For instance, what are we doing with Mercury? Yes, their top 3 players are good, but their bench is weak and their lineup is full of unknowns. Not only is that incorrect, but it's almost ridiculous to think that they're in the top 4 when Indiana is outside the top 5. The Fever have depth continuity, the league's most dangerous sophomore, and their backup point guard, who is nearing the end of her career and knows that winning titles is all that matters, decided to leave to go to Indiana for less money because they all received an additional $100,000, 0 cents, from the Minnesota Lynx, while the other half of the finals last season did not. Needed to do a lot of work during the offseason because the core was under contract. They ended up trading for Cardi Sampson, which was probably their most important offseason move. No, it wasn't. It was the return of Jessica Shepard and the departure of Maisha Hines-Allen, but obviously that's not mentioned with Fee Collier. Playing better, never unrivaled Lynx, and you're going to have another fantastic season. That's okay. With almost all of their contracts guaranteed and only a small amount of cap space left, the Fever's front management has taken strategic decisions to position this team for long-term success. I can assure whoever authored this, while other teams are rushing to make last-minute Eurobasket acquisitions, this is a planned ascent rather than a chaotic rebuild. If we look at the current roster of the Indiana Fever's team, we can see that their non-G guaranteed players have contracts with Caitlin Clark, and that's the only non-G guaranteed player. This is actually a really good point that I need to discuss because many people are very confused when it comes to the roster construction. They're not getting rid of Dana Bonner, according to Caitlin Clark. I believe that one of the reasons they have her on a guaranteed contract is that if she gets hurt when she's a little older, there may have been an agreement made that said that if she changed her mind, it wouldn't be a problem. However, I'm not sure why she's on a not guaranteed, but it's clear that Caitlin Clark the Fever's ability to manage their roster under tight financial constraints is particularly impressive. With veterans like Bonner possibly serving temporary roles and players like Caitlin Clark on non-G guaranteed deals, they're working with precision. It's not showy, but they're smart, and they're assembling a team that can develop together, and the cap strategy indicates that they cannot bring in anyone else unless they make a trade. Therefore, I would assume that they will bring in Michael Timpson, and what will happen is that they still have $50,000, 0 cents in salary, which is insufficient and not a good deal. Minimum contract, but when it comes to the second half of the season, which is taking place during the Eurobasket from June 18 to June 29, there will undoubtedly be a lot of players who aren't currently in the NBA who might think about joining after the Eurobasket, so there won't be any. The media conveniently overlooks the fact that even though Indiana may only have 11 players for a while, they still have flexibility and are ready to add a player in the middle of the season if necessary. This team has a ton of options, whether it's a European basket standout or a veteran cut from another roster. Win games when it matters, therefore I suppose she's in class. Was she signed by a team or was she young? In any case, if someone is succeeding at Eurobasket, there will inevitably be players. There are several Spanish-speaking players on the Spanish team, and once more, I'm not even sure who owns their rights. But certain players are available for signing following the Eurobasket. Additionally, some Americans are able to. Prioritization regulations had to be in place from day one if you're signing a contract that lasts for a year, as we witnessed last year when Odyssey Sims averaged 17 points per game. This is where the real irony lies. Those commentators who question Caitlin Clark's move to the W are now claiming that she isn't a gamer and that she is actually changing how teams scout game plans and even how arenas sell tickets. The media would have hailed any other athlete, male or female, as a revolution if they had this kind of impact, but Clark consistently proves it. Why is the fourth choice point guard for Australia 2 years older than the first choice point guard? Jay Melbourne was their starting point guard for the 12th Olympics and was on the verge of becoming an Olympic All-Star, an improved building block above the initial option Australia's point guard, due to people forgetting that she is young and was either the youngest player or Cone. Jade Melbourne is the most disrespected player in the WNBA. She was drafted in 2022, and even in year 3, she was still the second youngest or youngest player I can recall in the WNBA. Despite being in her 4th year, Jade Melbourne is a crucial component of this team's rebuilding effort, making her one of the 15 youngest players in the NBA this season. Chicago Sky 10, wow. In the meantime, let's discuss the Storm, a team that faltered in the last minutes of the previous season, lost its captain, and is now depending on a rookie to lead them. Through the chaos of international absences, they are somehow viewed as a greater threat than Indiana. This isn't basketball analysis. It's brand bias masquerading as a belief that they improved just by losing Drew Lloyd. However, by that reasoning, the Aces aren't superior to the Fever because they gained Drew Lloyd. But if you think that Drew Lloyd helped the Aces when they lost Kelsey, plump, losing me. For a period in the middle of the season, Gustafsson is losing, or if you think Liz Kitley is going to do something crazy, or if you think Joel Lloyd is adding to the Seattle Storm, July needs to bring the Fever down. If you don't think so, where does that leave us as a team that's deeper, more experienced, and better than they were last year, led by a generational talent, is ranked 6th? If this league had any other players, the Fever would be considered a contender, but for some reason, the same stories about inexperience and growing pains keep coming up. It's time to update the script because it seems like she won't be able to protect anyone, and she didn't protect anyone most of the time in college. She is a versatile defender who isn't very good at DJ's lockdown, and the rest of the team, including Seager, isn't very good at defending. For example, Nalissa Smith is the league's worst defender, and DR McCall is the league's worst defensive center. They also think that Ty Harris is good. I mean, Ty Harris can play a little bit, but how much will Ty Harris play? I want to make it clear that Indiana doesn't need anyone's approval because the players know what they've accomplished, the coaches know how far they've come, and the fans are showing up louder than ever. I'm not sure until they start DJ a power forward or if Ty Harris is their likely second best, third best, or second best player. What do you think about the Fever being unfairly criticized, or is this all part of a plot to go unnoticed until it's too late to stop them? The media doesn't give them credit, and the Fever is about to let the scoreboard do the talking. One thing is for sure, Indiana isn't awaiting authorization. They are now prepared.